Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Spark with the Connected Learning team. This is Sarah, and I'm going to be walking you through using Adobe Spark with your students in this upcoming school year. We're going to look at 3 different products, and all of them are sort of wrapped up within Adobe Spark. And those are going to be Adobe Spark pages, which will be web pages. We'll look at those last, videos, and then we'll actually start with posts, or those are graphics. These can be printed and they can be shared via Google Classroom or Canvas, and we'll look at all of those options there. If you're a K-1 teacher, all of these Adobe Spark tools have separate apps that are available in the app portal for you and your students to use this school year. So we'll first just look at logging into Adobe Spark. We'll look at posts. Again, those are going to be graphics and maybe even things that you could print. And within posts, we'll look at libraries, which allow you to share templates with students, which might be a little easier way to get started with Adobe Spark with younger students. We'll look at video and web pages, and then we'll finish out with an opportunity for you to enroll your students in something we're calling the Adobe Spark Academy for next school year. So logging into Adobe Spark, we're going to start by going to spark.adobe.com, and then we'll just log in with our TSC email address, and we're going to choose this login with Adobe ID. So I've already opened spark.adobe.com on my webpage, and I'm going to choose login with Adobe ID. If you are a K-1 teacher, you're going to choose the same option. When you download the app, you'll choose this login with Adobe ID. I would recommend, honestly, doing this ahead of time for your students. Don't actually walk the students through logging in. If you're K-1, just log them in, because once they're logged into that app, it will keep that and they won't have to actually log in again. Now, if you're a 2 through 12 teacher, the students will log in. It should save most of their login information, so it should be pretty easy for them to get back in after that first time. So I'll just choose login with Adobe ID. It will bring me to this sign-in page, and I'm just going to type in my full TSC email address. Now, for me, it's obviously that tsc.k12.in.us. For students, it's going to be at tscstudents.net. So their username at tscstudents.net, and then I'll just click continue. Your students shouldn't get this prompt. It should automatically go to their school account. And I am into Adobe Spark. So it's going to show me all of the things that I can create up here at the top, any recent projects that I have down here. It will give me some templates because it knows that I'm using it for education. So it will also show me some templates. So it's going to be similar if you've used Canva. We do have a session on Canva later this summer, but it will give me some templates to explore. And we're going to start off by going to our graphics. So let's just look at what we can do with graphics. So graphics allow us to add text, photos, icons, design assets, backgrounds, really anything that we want to a graphic. This can then be downloaded as an image or a PDF, which can then be printed if you need to. Students can share their projects via Google Classroom or Canvas. And what is super awesome with Adobe Spark is it has a whole bunch of design tools, and all of these things are free for students. So it makes it really easy for students to actually create posters or demonstrations of their learning using all of these tools. And again, it's all for free. One of the tools that I love in Adobe Spark Post is the background remover. So if I have a picture, maybe I have a picture of a student, or a student has taken a picture of themselves and they want to add themselves, let's say, to another planet, and they're going to tell me information about that planet. I can actually, or the students can actually remove the background of their picture and add themselves to that solar system or planet or wherever they're going to go. So maybe they're giving a report about different habitats. They would be able to easily add themselves to that report. So let's look at posts. When I come up here to the top, I'm going to click that blue plus button in the top left-hand corner. And then I'm going to choose custom size graphic. You can also choose like flyer, which would probably be like an 8 by 10. I'll just do custom size graphic. And this is going to allow me to add in my own custom dimensions. As you can see here, I also have some popular dimensions, social, print, more social, and standard. So let's try print actually, and I'll do 8.5 by 11. So students are going to be creating this thing, and maybe I also want to print them and send them home. Maybe they're getting to know me at the beginning of the school year, so they're going to create a little poster about themselves, and I want it to be printed and hung up in the classroom, something along those lines. So I'll click next. And I'm given a few templates over here on the side to begin with. I'm not really going to use any of the templates, but the students are more than welcome to explore those. But let's say I'm going to do a report on Saturn, we'll say. So I want to add some things to my workspace. This white paper here, that's what I'm actually adding to. So that is my poster. On the left-hand side, these are all the things that I can add, and we'll go through some of these things. And then on the right side, as I add those things, I'll be able to customize them, like their color, their size, font, if I'm using text, things like that. So along with the full templates, I also have templates of text. So students don't have to design everything. These yellow tags are still going to be free for students, so there really won't be any paid features for them. But I can select templates for my text. So if students want to start this way, or we can come up here to the top and just say, add your text. So I can just add my own text. I'll scroll down here and maybe add this text. So all I did was selected that text, and it's going to add it to my space. Kind of added it in an odd place, but if I just click on it, I can select it. I always show students that there's this blue box around this. The corners allow me to resize it if I want to make it bigger or smaller. And if I grab in the middle, I get those crossbars there, I can actually move it up to the top. Now, I don't want it to say this, right? This is a report about Saturn. So I'm going to double click and edit that text. Over here on the right-hand side, it'll show me that I can edit the text. And I'm just going to type in Saturn. Now, I don't really like the colors of this either. So I am going to, again, double click, or I'm going to click on the top here and see how I have this sort of brown color there. I'm going to click on the little, these are, you can customize the colors. So that little icon there is going to show up in a couple different places, but I'll just customize those colors. And maybe I want it to be like a purple. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the words. And that I'm going to make this sort of bluish green color. That looks good to me. So I've added the top of my, or the title maybe of my report. I can add additional text there. So if there's going to be maybe facts about Saturn, I can also add those there. And now I'm going to add a picture of myself. So I can upload a photo, and it's going to add that picture in there. So as I mentioned before, one of my favorite features in Adobe Spark is the ability to remove a background. So you can see here's Tyler in the green shirt, and I kind of want to remove all of this stuff around him. So I've selected the picture. So if I'm not selected on the picture, I can select the picture. And over here on the right, I can choose remove background, remove background. It's going to take that background off the picture. It's just going to leave Tyler. Now, if I needed to do any kind of editing, maybe it didn't get everything around his head, then I can always erase. Or if it took off too much, I can restore. So you can see over here on the right-hand side, I have more more features in there, or I can kind of fine tune it a little bit, but it looks good to me. So I'm just going to click done, and Tyler is now cut out. I'm going to move him down to the bottom here. And you can see this would be really fun if you did have, maybe you were having the students create an About Me poster, then they could add themselves, but it's not like a full picture of them. It's just the cutout of them. So I want to also obviously maybe add a picture of Saturn. This would probably be helpful, right? So I'm going to come over here to Design Assets. And I'm going to search for Saturn. So there's a few illustrations. If I click see all, there's 52 illustrations of Saturn. And so then Tyler can go through and he can choose which one he likes the best. I'm just going to go ahead and select one of these. So I like this one of Saturn. And because this picture is going to come in, wherever it just automatically dumps this picture, but I can also move it around and I can resize it. Because I added this picture last, it is going on top of Tyler right now, which isn't very helpful. I kind of want it to move back, right? I don't want it to be on top of him. So over here on the right, I have layers. And this allows me to move this Saturn behind the other elements. So it is now behind my Saturn title as well as behind Tyler. So it makes it very easy then to rearrange these items. So if I needed to do that with any of these other ones, I can always rearrange them. Over here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see these are the layers that I currently have. And I can always rearrange them here as well. So I'm just clicking and dragging, and then it's going to rearrange that for me. If I don't find a design asset that I like, I also have options in icons. So this gives me, again, a few more icons for Saturn. And then let's see, maybe there's a picture of Saturn as well. So I'm just going to choose find free photos because obviously I don't have a picture of Saturn. And the students don't have to then go Google a picture of Saturn, but they can search in here and add additional pictures. So I have other pictures of Saturn that I would be able to add in, and Tyler can add as many as he'd like, and he can then turn in that report with all of his information about Saturn. So just going through, again, each of these options over here on the left-hand side, templates. These are going to be pre-made things that the students would then be able to, here's like a weather report one, that students would be able to then customize with their own text or their own images. Text allows students to add, obviously, their own text, as well as starting from a template and adding text that way. Let me show you what it looks like to actually add text like from scratch so that you can see what that process looks like. So I'm just going to choose add your text. I'm going to double click to edit that text, and over here on the top right hand corner, I'm going to type in the word Saturn. I'm going to choose a different color. So I'm going to click that toggle colors. And we'll go with a blue this time. Actually, we'll try and get a color close to Tyler's shirt. So if I want, let's say, to match Tyler's shirt here, this little eyedropper there, if I click that, it will allow me to kind of hover over parts of this picture here. That's a good color. So that is now going to match his shirt. So you can see that's pretty darn close to matching his shirt. Right next to that, it says Legacy Font. So I can also change the font. The kids love doing this, being able to change that and customize that font. So we'll go with something big and bold there. I can change the color or the size here, but I can also drag those corners to change the size as well. So let me move this up to the top. It's going to give me some guidelines as I move them. And I'll make this a little bigger. And then we'll just kind of drag it around until I get that center bar to make sure that it's actually centered on my page. Moving down, I can align it differently. I can also curve, so I can curve this text. Boom, that curved it. It made it also a little smaller. I can, if it does this left align grid, if it has more than one word in it, it's going to kind of realign those, as well as capitalize and fit and drop cap. So it's going to change the way this looks. So you can see that drop cap right there. I kind of liked this curve one here, but I want it to be a little bigger. Oop, that's probably big enough. And then I'm going to take my Saturn icon. I'm going to just move it right underneath. So I'm not doing a whole lot of design here, but because all of this is built in, it makes it just really easy for me as a student to put this report together. Again, moving along down here, I can also make, these are going to be more transparent. So if I want the words to be a little more transparent, maybe then you can see Saturn behind it. I can also change the shape, add a shadow, or add an outline. This find new style is going to change the style for the students. So that's kind of fun. Again, if your students don't want to have to worry about what the design looks like, then they're able to find a new style, and Adobe Spark will do that work for them. Now, if Tyler is going to actually give a report about this, maybe this area down here is where his report would go. So we'll just add report information. So we'll just act like Tyler has done a whole bunch of research and he has put together a report about Saturn. So it's going to be over here on the side, and maybe he changes the text color to like black or something. So it basically just grabbed that style for me from the last one, but I can always change that and rearrange that a little bit. So here's Tyler's Saturn report. Moving along down the bottom, again, we can add photos. So we uploaded our own picture and we removed the background from it. We also searched for free photos. So we'll add one more picture of Saturn. When I search free photos, even if it's not my own picture, I can always remove the background as well. From that example on the slides, this was not a picture that I took, but it was a picture that was in Adobe Spark, and I just clicked remove background to just get the picture of the dog. So we can remove the background from pictures that aren't taken from us as well. We can also add filters or enhancements or blur pictures as well, so students can kind of play around with this. If they want their image to be in the background, they have this little toggle here to add to background. Next, we have our icons, and the icons are going to be a little more customizable than the design assets. The icons, we can actually select and change the colors. So if I select, like, let's say this icon of Saturn here, he's going to have a whole bunch of planets on there. You can see it kind of came in this pink color, but I want it to be a different color, so I'm going to choose that toggle to switch it to be a different color. So it makes it very easy then to customize the colors on our report. Design assets are going to be a little more like clip art. So you have a whole bunch of illustrations in here. You can search for something specific, or you can just browse the design assets that they have. They even have just like, regular design features. So if I just want something that like makes it look pretty, something like that, maybe not for the students, but for you. So you want a border or something like along those lines. So let me do border. Oh, of course it gave me states. Let's say I want a fancy line. Here's a bunch of things that have line. Oh, these are line drawings. Those are kind of fun. So there's a ton of different design assets in there, and you can kind of browse those illustrations as well. So here's some brushes or frames. That's what I really needed. I meant to say frames instead of border. But I've got frames in there. And you could use this even to make your newsletters if you wanted to. And then I can add backgrounds. So if maybe I'm not going to print this, but I want a cool background, I can add this. Here's a space background. So it may have seen, hey, she's searching for Saturn. So I have this background. I'm going to select it. Didn't come in as the background right now. And I'm going to choose add to background. Boom, it adds it to the background. I love this, except I do want to maybe make these letters white now. So we'll make those white. So here's Tyler's information about Saturn. It looks like he is in the solar system, which is awesome. And he can give me all of that report information there. Logos and libraries, students won't need to worry about, so you don't have to worry about that either. So Tyler's done with his report. He has given his report on Saturn. He's added a picture of himself. He is ready to turn this into me. He can either share this with me over here by adding me, or the easier option is to click share, and he can publish this graphic. So when he publishes this graphic, he's going to, because Tyler is in 3rd grade, he is going to choose Google Classroom, and then he is going to select the assignment. You will need to make sure that there is an assignment with a due date, and he's going to select that assignment and then send it off to me with the attachment in Google Classroom. So this is Adobe Spark Post. If your students are, I forgot to mention this, if your students are using Canvas, we still suggest that they use this download it as a JPEG or PNG, PDF, and upload it with a file upload option in Canvas. One thing I love about Adobe Spark as well is that it automatically saves these things. So it's saving all of this stuff as I'm working. If I want to rename my project, I can come up here to the top. Right now, it's just my post. So maybe it's going to be Tyler Margison Saturn. That's what it's going to be called. So whenever I download that, that will come through as Tyler Margison Saturn. To get back to my Adobe Spark dashboard, we'll call it, I just click up here at the top and I go home. So next we're going to look at libraries. So just very quickly, I'm going to show you what the libraries look like. And these are an easy way for you to share projects with your students. So maybe you create a template. So you can see this little crab template I have here and a teacher name. So maybe it was like a thank you card that you're going to be creating for somebody. Again, this is really helpful for younger users that aren't as familiar with Adobe Spark or maybe don't know where to get started. You can create the template for them, and then once those templates are in a library, you share the link with students. Students will have to log in first, but then you can share those out and students can then customize them. So back here on my dashboard, over on the left-hand side, I have libraries. So I can create a new library here. I also have some Margison templates. So I'm just going to come in here to edit my library. And I can see that I have a certificate template here, and I can also add an additional template. So if I've already created a project, let's say that Tyler's Saturn report is a template. So I can add that, and I can call it maybe Planet Reports. And I can choose to save template. This is going to save that template in this library. I can share the library with students. Again, students will need to log in first, but I share the library with students, and then they have access to these templates to make a copy and actually create these things themselves. So if I click up here at the top and share, I'm going to choose Manage Public Link. And then it's going to give me this link. copy, and I'm just going to paste that in my Google Classroom, and then students would be able to get to those templates. So again, if you're going to be doing a lot of things in Adobe Spark, this would be pretty helpful. Or if you're going to be doing something that's maybe a little more intense, or you want the students to actually have a template, this is just another good option for you to look at. So going back home, we're going to look at creating videos now. So videos are really awesome within Adobe Spark. They're just a really easy way for students to, again, demonstrate their learning. They can add text, titles, they can choose a theme. There's music in there. All of it is free to use. The students can upload their own pictures. They can choose free pictures. So if they're going to be doing a report on something, they can actually choose pictures of that thing. All of it then would be finalized and downloaded as a video MP4 or shared just via a link, and students are able to turn those in with Google Classroom. So I'm going to show you a little preview of what this looks like as a student example from a student that just did a video this past April.
It's about twins who fall into a storybook that changes the rest of their lives. In the book, they meet all of their favorite storybook characters and adventures. But here's the question, how do they get back home? The only way home is through collecting magical relics. They're on a great start until they figure out that the evil queen is hunting down relics too. Do the twins get them, or does the queen take their freedom? Find out in the Land of Stories. I highly recommend this book to anyone who enjoys adventure and magic.
So this student did a fantastic job, and this is really just a book trailer. This was in a 4-5 classroom, and the student was just letting her classmates know about the book that she was reading. She was able to she was able to record her voice during the video so that you get a little bit of her, you get a little bit of music, and she wrapped it all up in this package with Adobe Spark. And this was created, she had never done an Adobe Spark video, and it was created like within maybe 40 minutes of a class period. So the students are really able to dive into Adobe Spark and create a nice product very quickly. I've used it with even kindergarten students. I taught my own son's kindergarten class how to use Adobe Spark Video, and we did some positional languages. So it's really easy for the students to get in, create their own videos. So going back to my Adobe Spark dashboard here, we're actually going to create these via a slideshow. I can either choose slideshow here. Presentation is going to be a web page, but I can choose slideshow, or I can do this blue button up at the top again and choose video right here. So either slideshow or video. We want to make sure that we're on video. I can skip this. It's always going to ask me for a title. I'm just going to skip it for now. You can also start with a template. Again, I like to start from scratch, so I'm just going to skip this for now. And this is my Adobe Spark editor. So this is my video editor. So you can see here, I can add video, text, photos, and icons. This is built very similar to a slideshow. So down at the bottom, that's actually going to be like my slide deck. So I can add additional slides here. My title slide is number 1. Credit slides is going to be any credits that I add, in addition to the credits that if I search for free photos and they require some kind of credits, it will actually add those credits at the end of the video for the students automatically. And then the outro this is only because I have a brand account. Students will not get this. So this is because I have branding. I'm actually going to shut that off so that you guys don't see any of that. So we're going to turn that off, and we're going to turn the credits off. Hide outro. So I start with my title, and our family just got back from a trip to Disney. So I'm going to make a little video of a parade that we saw at Disney. So I click and I add my title in there. I can also add or make my text a little larger. And I want to add a background picture. Now I have pictures from Disney, but I want to add a free photo from Disney. So I'm going to click this plus button in the top left-hand corner, and I'm going to add a photo. I can also add a video, which is really cool. So it puts the text over the video. Notice in this one, I did not have this in post, but I do have this in video, and it only works for photos though. I can actually take a photo right within Adobe Spark Video, which makes it really helpful when those students are doing those book trailers. They can actually hold up the book and take a picture of themselves with the book. I'm going to choose Find Free Photos. I'll type in Disney. Oh, I love the balloons. So I'm going to add balloons here. So there's my background. It kind of changed my font, or not my font, it changed my text color because it noticed that if I had it in blue, it might have been harder to read. So it does change that color, which is pretty nice there. And now I'm going to go through and I'm going to add my own pictures. So I'm going to choose photo. I'm going to upload my own. And maybe in this one, I like this picture, but I want to add some information about it. So I'm going to choose split screen. And I'm going to add Buzz Lightyear. I can also record my voice. So as we saw in our example, or as we heard in our example, the student had recorded their voice. Right down here at the bottom, this is how I can record my voice. So if I press and hold, I can actually say Buzz Lightyear, and that will be part of that video. Add another photo. And one last picture. And just for fun, we're going to go ahead and add a video too. So I'm going to choose video here. I've downloaded a video already. One thing to note is that it is only going to let you add at most 30 seconds of your video. So keep that in mind. My video is only about 18 seconds long. So I'm going to extend that clip. Now, if it's a longer video and I can only choose part of it, so you can see here down at the bottom, I'm kind of clipping that video. And this is just letting me select a certain amount of time. I'm going to choose save. And it has added that video in there. Now, over here on the right-hand side, I have other options. So I can zoom, I can trim, and I can also change the clip volume. So I want this to be loud enough for you to be able to hear it over whatever background music is happening. So I've got my title slide here. I've got each of my slides, and I can add text on top of these things. I'm going to make it a little smaller. And then I've got my video here at the end. And then I can continue to add additional slides. Now, this is something that students could build over time. So they may not have all of the information right away, but at least they could continue to build that sort of slideshow base. And then we can see what that video looks like. If a student wants to see or hear what their slide sounds like or looks like, they're able to click this little play button here, and that's going to show them just that slide. If I click this play button down here, it will actually play and preview the entire video. So those are just some things to keep in mind. And again, just as a reminder, I can always record my voice. Maybe I say something like, here's our trip to Disney. On the left-hand side, we already saw that we can add different layouts, and these are the only 4 layouts that we have. We have themes. We have not gone through these yet, but students will have these themes that they're able to select. So I'm going to choose Flare. I'm going to change it to this blue color. And it's just going to kind of change the way that my slideshow looks as as my viewers are watching it. I can resize it. I typically don't do this. I usually keep them widescreen, but I can change it to square if I'd like to. And then music finally. So I'm able to change the music within here, and I can preview them by just clicking on that little play button there. So I'm going to choose that one that it first selected for me. So it kind of auto selected something. And I'm done with my video. I'm ready to go. If I have a ton of information, so if students have maybe typed like a lot of information here on this one, they can also change the duration of the slide. So maybe 4 seconds isn't long enough. So if I click down here at the bottom, I can actually make it up to 30 seconds long. So that's something to note as well. So it will default to about 4 seconds, but you can always make it longer. Up here at the top, I can preview it, I can share it, and I can download it. If I share it, I get the same options that I did in Post, which would allow me to share it via Google Classroom or Canvas. I can grab a link and I can actually submit that in Canvas. I could download it. I don't recommend students downloading them. They really don't need to do that. Most of the time, they're just going to be able to share it and grab that link. So let's look at the final video.
You have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful.
The final product that we're going to look at is Adobe Spark Web Pages. I like this for older students, 6 through 12 definitely. We can probably do 4th and 5th grade, but it has to be really intentional. But I also really like it for teachers. So if you're wanting to maybe jazz up your classroom newsletter a little bit, web pages are a really easy way to do that. Now I'm going to say web page, but it's not as intense maybe as Google Sites web pages would be, where you've got like multiple pages linked. It's going to just be one single scrolling page. So this, again, would be really good for student portfolios. It's really awesome in high school when students are trying to put together several pieces of work. Classroom newsletters, topic exploration. So maybe you add in videos and links, and students are going to just explore that topic a little bit, virtual field trips, and so on. So there is an example here of an Adobe Spark web page. So let me actually just open this up real quick so that you guys can kind of see what a finalized page would look like. So as I scroll through here, again, now that we've seen Adobe Spark, you probably can assume that I have not taken this particular picture in Italy, but this is something that I got as a free photo. So as I scroll down here, this was, we were asking students to do a travel journal. If they could go anywhere, there was no budget, there was no timeline, they could just do whatever they wanted, where would they go and what would they do? So what would we see? Who would go with us? Continuing to scroll down. Again, I did not take any of these pictures. What activities might we do? And how would we get there? And then that's it, just down at the bottom there. So you can see it's really easy for the students to find free photos of places. So again, travel journals, this is a really awesome way to do that. Just something fun for the students. And if you have your own pictures, it makes it a really visually appealing newsletter for families, and you can add in your own pictures of the students throughout the week or activities that you're doing with them. So going back to Adobe Spark, I can either choose presentation or web page. I'm just going to go ahead and choose web page, and it's going to pop up that web page editor. With each of these Adobe Spark products, we're always going to get that free photo library, which is super awesome. And I can add a photo in here as the background. I can also add a title and subtitle. Every web page looks like this. So it comes in gray because it's going to add that big image to the front. So this first image here, it's always going to have this really big image there. And then it's going to have that title. Now to build a web page, the only thing you need to do is scroll. Scroll, and this is going to give you this button with all of the options here. So we're just going to run through these pretty quickly. I can add photos, and you saw that in my Italy example. I can add text. I can add buttons. So if we're looking at a topic exploration, I can actually add a button to another web page that would give the students maybe more information about whatever the topic is. I can embed videos, and these videos can come from YouTube or Spark Video. Do not use Vimeo because it's going to be blocked for the students, but I can use YouTube or Spark Video, and I can add a video right to my web page. I can also add a photo grid. This is really fun if you've got a bunch of photos that the student, maybe you've taken pictures of what the students have done during the week. We can add photos for that. A glide show means that as you're scrolling or as your users are scrolling, the pictures are going to be changing similar to a slideshow. And then finally, your split layout, which would be a picture and text. So I'm just going to add a split layout so you can see what this looks like. I choose add your image. I'm going to find a free picture, and I'm still 100% in Disney mode. So I'm going to choose Disney again. I'll choose something different this time. There we go. There's a castle picture. If I want to change the focal point, because it looks like right now it's kind of cutting off the top of the castle, I'm going to select the image, and I'm going to choose focal point. And I'm going to drag this up a little bit, and we'll make it like there. Save. So I get a little more of the top of that castle. On the right-hand side, I have a plus button, and this will allow me to add text. Is that? This is supposed to be a title, but it's not really a title yet. So I'm going to click this H1, which is going to make it a heading. So heading 1, and I'm going to fix that capitalization, and then I'll center it as well. So I have a heading here. I'm going to add additional text, and maybe this is a subheading or heading 2. And then I would do more information about our trip. So I can continue to add information, and maybe this is, again, if we look at or thinking about a classroom newsletter, you have math or what we're learning or a letter from your teacher or something like that in a little subheading. And then you actually have the information that you want to give to parents. All these plus buttons here just mean that I can add additional things above or below this text. Not everything, of course, but I can add additional things in here. So I can add another picture there if I'd like to. And just, again, it just makes that web page look really visually appealing. If I continue to scroll, I'm going to continue to see those plus buttons. So anywhere I see a plus button, I can add information. If I click this preview up here at the top, I'll see what it actually looks like for my end user. Now, I didn't add a title or anything, so it's just gray up here, but we can see this space. Those plus buttons that we were seeing before are totally gone. So this is what that end user would actually see when they visit my web page. And I can continue to edit it and add more things, and maybe I'm building it throughout the week, something along those lines. Up here at the top, I do have a few themes in my web pages. Maybe I want a storybook theme because this seems a little more whimsical. Or I can actually do a whimsy theme. So that gives you a few themes for you and your students to kind of play around with web pages. Again, it's a very light editor, but it's supposed to be visually appealing. So you're adding a lot of pictures and allowing students to kind of explore topics in a visual way. If I want to share this, or if students want to share this, again, we're going to click share and we can actually publish and share that link. What's cool about this is that it will allow me to create the link. I'll just do that real quick. And copy that, and I can also paste that in Classroom, or students can turn it in via Classroom. But let's say now I'm ready to add in my title and an image. So I've changed my web page, right? I changed my web page and my students already have that link. So I want to make sure that they get the most up-to-date information. So I'm going to come back up here to share. I'm going to choose again, publish and share link. And it will say, hey, we noticed you made some changes to your product. So I'm just going to update link. That link that I shared with students is still going to be active. It's just going to be the content that that link goes to will then be updated. So that is pretty much it for Adobe Spark web pages. It sounds very intimidating, like a full web page, but it's actually really, really easy for the students to build these and add in information. If I want to add in a button here, I can have display text, which would be Disney, and then maybe I have the students go to, I think it's, we'll just say Disney.com, something along those lines. So there's an actual button here for them to click, and then it's going to go to that web page. Any settings that my students would need would be showing just a header and footer, and that's it. Again, preview we looked at. Present would be more if I'm going to be using this like a slideshow. I don't really do that very often, but you could use this as a slideshow as well. And then, of course, our share is going to allow us to publish and share those things. The last bit of information that I want to share with you is just about the Adobe Spark Academy. So what is it? What would your students learn? And how can you get started with this? So this past April, I was asked to come into a classroom and just show students how to use Adobe Spark. And so I created what I call the Adobe Spark Academy. So students will learn, or they'll go through 2 projects. So I always go through Adobe Spark Post with the students. And then as a teacher, you can decide if you want me to also cover video or also cover web pages, just depending on the age of your students. So post and video, or post and web page. Your students will go through 2 projects, and these projects are age appropriate no matter what age your students are. And they'll learn how to use those Adobe Spark tools. So all those little, background removal and adding text and changing, your theme song and all of those things. They learn those things, and then they receive a little certificate of completion at the end of going through this Adobe Spark Academy. So if you're interested in doing this with your students this fall, you can actually email me right now and we can get something set up, or at least you can email me and say, hey, I'm interested. Remind me in August to schedule a time for you to come out. Typically, I would say an hour for each tool, but I can always customize it. If your students are a little older, we might be able to do both projects within 1 hour, so it might not take as long. If your students have never done Adobe Spark, I would give us plenty of time to actually walk through each of these things. Now, if you also only want to start with Adobe Spark posts, we can also just do that as well. So please, please, please email me and get your students enrolled in Adobe Spark Academy today. Of course, if you have any questions, you can type those in the chat and our team will be sure to answer those. Thank you guys for attending today. Make sure that you grab your PGPs for today's sessions by going to this bit.ly/PGP21. You'll get PGPs for attending today, whether you did it live or the recorded version. We appreciate everything that you guys do at TSC for your students and for your families, and we hope you have an awesome summer.